Keep the sound guy on his toes today. And I hear what they're saying with the face you deserve. You have the face you deserve by the age of 40. I guess 40 was, I don't mean to put the 40-year-old people down. But apparently your face begins to not work like you wanted to by that time, I guess. Or you start noticing it. Or you're like me and you can't do anything about your face. This is just how you got it, you know. And that's, let me side note on that for a second. When I was little, probably around the ages between 5 and 10, when my mom and dad would pull out the picture albums to look through baby pictures with all my siblings, they would get to my baby picture. And inevitably, everybody would go, "Ha! Look at the alien!" Yeah, thank you. Somebody loves in this room. Usually it was my sister. And so I could understand what was happening there, except those words, even though they were a joke, maybe made me think that I was ugly. What about our words? On the video, I had a dream. I had a dream that instead of us asking what our country shouldn't ask what our country should do for what we could do for our country, could I just ask for you not to ask what your church can do for you, but what you can do for your church? Back to the face. My sister intentionally wanted to beat my face. And she would aim there a lot. And sometimes I didn't really take care of my face. I would plummet into different things at different times. And I have a lot of scars on my face. And maybe you do too. Maybe you're like me. But can I just help you understand here? It's not really about what we can see necessarily. It's more about what we can feel. And I think maybe we've stopped feeling. Or maybe we've just been feeling in the wrong ways. You see, it's our hearts that are shaped by the experiences we live through and the choices that we make in our past that probably cause our face the way it looks today. And it's noticeable. You see, the world we live in now is the world we created together by particular choices, both right and wrong. And I would have to say that the church is not excluded from that today. So, what's the point? Because of all our choices, and because those choices do come from our heart, Proverbs 4:23, you can write this down, tells us to guard our hearts, for it is the wellspring of life. Guard them. Don't keep them from people, but just make sure you're not letting things get in that shouldn't get in, so that you can accurately understand what's going on. Therefore, write this down, the renovation of our heart becomes the central issue and only hope for a different world, a different you and me, and a different church. And there's nothing wrong with that change or that transition. So we got a perpetrator. We know what's going on. It's Satan working deep in our hearts sometimes, just like the prodigal. So what's the problem? You ever heard that before? What's the problem? What's your problem? What's my problem? Here's the problem. The problem you and I face is this: how we deal with things that come from within the heart. We're attached to ourselves fairly well. I'm included. By the way, I can't preach a message unless I preach it to myself 100 times. But the central problem is this, that is how we deal with what comes from within our heart. That's the problem we face. And we all have a choice on how to do that. Jeremiah 17:9 says the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? So we understand the prodigal's issues. Only Christ can understand it. Only Christ can work deep in the soul, deep in the heart. And the situation we find ourselves right now in our body, with the absence of a senior pastor, is hurtful and difficult for us to move through. Let's just call it what it is. And it's no secret that churches across America experience problems, snags, deep hurtful wounds, or reopened wounds at times. And we're no exception to the rule. I just can't stop thinking about the prodigal, though, because he did go away with the wrong heart intention. But when he got away from all of it and he went out to be on his own, something else happened. He came to some terms with the reality of where he was. And the part of his heart that was forgotten about before he left his father and his family was renovated. It was brought back to life. And so there is hope. There's hope for our hearts because the prodigal came home. He found his heart and he realized he had to love again and he had to trust again deeply. We must learn from the past. Write this down. We must learn from the past so that we can properly evaluate the present. We must learn from the past so we can properly evaluate the present so that we can get to the future. Can I suggest that the key to our healing in our hearts personally and the healing for our body is all wrapped up in this one thing: how you and I respond to what has happened to us, to what will continue to happen to us for today and tomorrow. First, we have to begin with our hearts, with our own hearts personally. Where are you? We have to allow change from the inside out. Let Jesus renovate who we are so that we can think clear. Second, we have to come together as a body and then outwardly respond to one another according to how Christ would want us to respond. Now, I'm not talking about the positive power, the power of positive thinking. I'm not talking about that. That doesn't work. What I am talking about is the positive power of Christ's thinking. And it's available with all of those who have trusted Jesus as Lord. We have the mind of Christ available to us. The word is clear that we have the power to take all thoughts and feelings captive and make them obedient to Christ. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Turn there if you want. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Just write it down on your notes there in your bulletin as well. It says, "We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take every captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." The change of heart, then, and response from our heart comes through this: knowing yourself deeply. But more than that, knowing Christ deeply in yourself. You want to know how I can trust the elders and deacons of this body and the rest of the pastor's home staff? I trust Christ in them. I have no other way to do it, and neither do you. There might be times when I've questioned, and I've had some serious questions, but that doesn't mean I can't trust Christ in men who are trying to do the very best to lead the flock. I trust them because I've decided in my heart to build them up and make them better leaders. Not that I'm better, but together I can help them become better. And may I just draw you into this whole idea? First, to the renovation of your own hearts. Second, to the you helping us become better leaders, because without you, we're not leaders. Without followers that are wanting and willing to know what's going on, we have no following. Therefore, we are not leaders.